Hello, welcome to Skye's Daydreams. In the last video, we made Wirt from Cartoon Network's miniseries Over the Garden Wall. Today, we will be concluding the two-part series by making his little brother Gregory. If you have seen Wirt's video, you already know the troubles I went through to make him. Greg came with his own set of issues, which is why it took a lot longer to finish this project than I would have liked, but more on that later. Back during the planning stage for this series, I was having a little trouble trying to find a decent child doll that was articulated, but not chibi-like. I also needed to make sure both dolls were to scale and looked like they belonged together with the same art style and proportions. While searching, I found this body base, and shortly after that, I came across Lauren Illustrated and Miguel Mercado's art while scrolling through Pinterest, and that is when I decided to go for the semi-realistic style. This body is 7 inches or 18 centimeters tall, which is what led me to get a Barbie-sized doll for Wirt. During my search for the body, I came across a Leica-chan head which I thought would work great for the childlike features. Both head and body were purchased off of AliExpress. To start the project, I decided to make his clothes first. Throughout the show, Greg wears a common play outfit worn by little boys ages 3 to 5 back in the 1930s, which gives us a little hint about this character's age. The teapot on his head is his elephant costume. I slightly modified an existing pattern I had for a Barbie tank top to make his shirt. The socks are sewn with the same jersey as Wirt's, only I made them a little taller to go under the overall so they don't slide down below his knees when bending his legs. The pattern for the overalls was completely drafted from scratch. It was also my first time sewing overalls, so I was completely winging it from beginning to end. Surprisingly, they turned out great on the first try. This doesn't happen often, so it made me very happy. And here's the almost complete outfit. This has got to be the cutest thing I have ever sewn for a doll. To finish it up, I glue on the buttons, which are painted half-sphere pearls, and make the little bow tie with a thin satin ribbon. Once the outfit is sewn, we can prep the head for the face-up by removing the original factory paint with 100% acetone and attaching the head to the body before applying the first layer of sealant. And here is where all the problems began. For whatever reason, the MSC was not accepting the materials well at all, which is very strange because I was working on both Wirt and Greg's faces at the same time, so the weather conditions and humidity levels were literally the same for both face-ups. The sealant on Wirt was accepting the pencils just fine, so I don't know what the deal was. The only thing I could think of was that Wirt's head was very hard like plastic, while this head was a lot more squishy and rubbery. I don't know if that matters or not, that was just my assumption. Because of this problem, I ended up doing almost the entire face-up with gouache paint and lifting the pigments from the pencils, which is why there is some footage missing. My face was so close to the dolls, I was trying really hard to get small precise lines with a brush, so my head was in the way the whole time. There was a lot of back and forth going on with needing to erase, redraw, take a break for a day or two, come back to the project with fresh eyes, rinse and repeat for about 2 weeks. And then the holidays came, life happened, and the project was put on hold for about 2 months. When I did return to finish the final layer of the face-up, the MSC apparently didn't seal all the gouache layers properly because when I applied the gloss to the eyes, the paint from the previous layer got activated and smeared everywhere. Oh, I was so discouraged, and I was about to wipe the entire face and start from scratch, but decided to take a break from the project instead. Once the motivation eventually did return, I looked at my project very carefully and decided to try saving the face instead of starting over, which I'm so thankful for because it actually turned out pretty nice. Because I was unable to use the pencils, his eyes still didn't come out exactly the way I would have liked them to, but I think they still look fine. I had a feeling that if I started the face over, I may have had the same issues with the sealant and the face would not have come out good. Also, it would take way longer to finish this video. I find this very ironic because I just filmed a tutorial on how to make MSC dry perfectly every time. Sometimes on rare occasions, Mr. Super Clear will just misbehave no matter what. Anyways, just like Wirt, I went with lots of blush on the cheeks, nose, and ears to give the effect that he's been out in the cold for a long time. I gave Wirt hazel eyes, but when I picture a realistic Greg, I always imagine him with chestnut brown eyes, so that is what I decided to go for. They are half-brothers after all, so I imagine there would be some slight differences. For the same reason, I decided to go with the chestnut brown color for his hair too. Greg's hairstyle was a lot easier for me to understand, so I did not need any extra reference images like I did with Wirt. I used the same method of gluing the brushed out yarn wefts with hot glue and using an eyebrow razor and thread scissors to style it as I go. The only thing I did different this time is the gluing pattern. Instead of working my way to the part like I usually do, I just continued working in a circle until I reached the crown, rolled up the last weft with fast grab tacky glue, hot glued it over the raw edges, and spread out the fibers evenly over the whole head. This method seems to work best with short hairstyles like this. I kind of wish I figured this out when I was doing Wirt, but oh well. Now to make the shoes. I lucked out with Wirt because his doll base already came with shoes, but this time I had to make them from scratch. I'm not very great when it comes to making shoes, and for this reason it's my least favorite part of doll customizing, but I tried my best. I just made a simple 3-piece pattern and sewed the shoes by hand with vinyl fabric. For the soles, I used fun foam and hot glued them to the bottom of the shoes while they were on the doll to be able to mold them into the right shape. To finish his outfit, I sculpted his teapot using polymer clay. Sculpting this thing with solid clay would make it super heavy and harder to cure, so to make it lighter, I crumpled up some tin foil into a rough teapot shape and sculpted over it. After giving it some thought, I decided the best way to keep this thing on the head would be to use pins. So before putting the main body into the oven to cure, I stick some headless sewing pins into the clay. Once that is cured, I sculpt on the rest of the teapot parts. I make little wire armatures for the handle and spout to make sure they stay on there nice and strong. After all the baking, I sand off my fingerprints and any other lumps. I don't sand it perfectly smooth because I realize that some of the lumps will make it look like the teapot has been dented, which I thought would be a fun detail to include. I imagine this thing would get a little dinged up throughout the adventures. Now we can paint it. One thing I figured out is that if you paint metallics over black, they seem to pop more, so that is what I do for this teapot. Once the paint job is done, we can seal it with a layer of matte varnish before applying a layer of gloss to give it that stainless steel shine. Now for the accessories. Back when making Wirt's body modifications, I had some leftover epoxy sculpt that I shaped into Greg's fact rock. To finish it, I drew on the face with acrylic markers and sealed it with a layer of Liquitex matte varnish. Next, I sew the little satchel with the same vinyl his shoes were made from. And this pretty much completes the doll. But there is one thing missing. That's right, we can't have Greg without his froggy friend Kitty. I sculpted him out of polymer clay just like I did with Beatrice. While Wirt Jr. was baking, his legs kind of leaned to the side a bit, and he somehow got a little burnt. Oops. That's okay, we'll just sand and paint him and no one will ever know. Except for the people watching this video. After that, I seal him with matte varnish and gloss his eyes. And yes, I intentionally made him a little bit on the bigger side because in the cartoon he's kind of huge. While I was at it, I wanted to try a new technique to create George Washington from one of my favorite episodes, Lullaby in Frogland, where he randomly becomes anthropomorphic and surprises everyone with his beautiful baritone singing voice and never does it again. I wanted to try making an art doll, a doll making method where you sculpt the head and feet onto a wire armature, wrap it in quilt batting, and sew a fabric body. I drew up a sketch of what I would like his actual size and proportions to be and made a wire armature off of that blueprint. In this episode, Benjamin Franklin is as tall as Greg, but I didn't really have the right materials to make him that big. To make the eyes, I painted directly on the back of 2 glass cabochons with acrylic markers. Then I once again sculpt with polymer clay. If you are interested in this form of art and want to know more about it in greater detail, I highly recommend KP Creations. Her art dolls are absolutely stunning, and in my opinion, she has the best videos about making these kinds of art dolls. For his feet, I wanted to try a new type of clay called cause clay that is said to cure flexible. I've seen several artists using this, so I wanted to test it out for myself. At first I took a more realistic approach with the webbed feet, but it looked a bit wrong, most likely because my sculpting skills have yet to improve, so I made them look more like the cartoon instead. I was expecting the stuff to be flexible like rubber, but apparently what they meant is that it just cures soft and has a give to it when put under pressure. Just mildly disappointed, but this stuff still works great and I'm very pleased with it. Now it is time to build up the body with quilt batting. I just cut some strips and wrap it around the armature until I reach the right bulk and shape, and then we can cover it all in fabric. This was my first time doing something like this, so I couldn't film the whole process, but I basically just pinned around the body, cut it down to size, stitched up the seams with a ladder stitch, and used hot glue to attach the fabric to the clay parts. He turned out a little wrinkly and kind of fabric looking, but not too bad for my first try. Maybe it's because I used a woven fabric. I'm sure if I used knit, it probably would have behaved differently. To finish him off, I paint all the clay parts and directly onto the fabric with acrylic paint. And with that, Dr. Cucumber is finished and this doll project is finally complete. I just absolutely love how Greg turned out, and it makes me so happy whenever I look at him. Making the 2 different versions of Ronald was also a lot of fun, especially trying the art doll technique. I have a feeling that it may not be the last time using it. If you like how Greg and Jason Funderburker turned out, give this video a like and let me know in the comments what you think of my take on these characters. If you like what you see and feel like sticking around, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. I've got so many ideas for doll projects and I'm excited to share them with you. Because it's now May, I obviously no longer have an autumn background, so I kind of needed to Photoshop them into a few pictures. I would also like to let you know that I am now on Instagram. I've posted all the dolls I've ever made from 2017 and all the way to the present, and I intend to post sneak peeks, little behind the scene photos, and updates so you can keep track of progress for future doll customs. If that is something you're interested in, the link to my page is in the description box below. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next project. Bye!